Good evening. I want to proceed as part 3 of the dark cloud on Zambian leadership. You see what? It is something regrettable to see to it that people reject what God has spoken. I'm not surprised, because when Noah received the revelation from God and called for the construction of the ark, they mocked him. They said he was mad. He lost his mind. 120 years passed. Even those that were there to help Noah here and there, they got tired. They said, no. How long will the rain take before filling the whole earth? Your message doesn't look to be useful to us. We are supposed to be drinking. We are supposed to be changing marriages. We are supposed to do whatever we want to do. I'm not too sure if drug dealing was actually part of the society of Noah. Definitely it was, because they were drinking. They were doing all sorts of evil at a lower level. But us today, we are doing that evil at the highest level, because the technology gives us a lot of access to evil. Even the phone that we use, others, when they hold it, they use it to watch pornographic videos, to watch how they can stage a heist, to ask Google, to ask AI, to teach them all tactics of evil. Now, I want to say, God has his own way of communication. The way you communicate with the phone, that is made by human intelligence. The human AI gives the intelligence to help you to do evil, and it is only to the advantage of some that would use a phone to find out about God. But you'd find that it is more limited to review about who God is, because it is designed to help us to do more of evil than godliness. It is the reason why that God uses visions and dreams in order to give us the information that we need at the right time, in order to make our eyes to open and see. The dream that I talked about, to say, I saw HAKAINDE Chilema being in danger of death. Erroneously, I mentioned about Major Street near Flyover Bridge. Actually, it's not Major Street, it's a local court that is near to the post office in the capital city of Lusaka. It was the local court where people gathered. They closed even that road that goes to intercity. They closed that area where there is a police station. And I want to say that gathering was so huge. Now, it is the reason why I'm saying this, so that you who don't believe that God can speak, when this happens, you must believe. But there are people who are adamant. Someone commented on my YouTube and says that this shall divide us. How can it divide us instead of uniting us? What is it that I'm talking about? I'm exposing a church, that is Catholic Church, that is dividing us. It shows us love, but that love has no ingredients of truth. It is being used for a special purpose. And this is where even Freemason comes from. Even these wars between America and Iran, Israel and Iran, all these wars around the world, they have its origin from Rome, the empire, which gave birth to Vatican. Let me tell you this. I challenge Hakainde Chilema to say, what I'm speaking out of love. And I'm speaking because God has appointed me to speak. I'm speaking because I've seen God. He has spoken to me, mouth to mouth. I don't know how many times I can try to express how I've come to learn the existence of God in my life. When I say all these presidents that have died, I warned them. I ate with them some. It is because I was carrying a sacred appointment. I'm alive today not because I deserve to live, but because I'm carrying a purpose, God's agenda. Africa must unite. When Christianity is not 100%, then those potholes, people take advantage to discredit everything, including Jesus Christ, who is our Lord and Savior, and God himself is being misrepresented with the fake Christianity, who said that a Christian must be neutral. Because when a Christian speaks, you say he's dividing us. I want to say that 99.9% of the prophets in the Bible, they were sent to kings. Why? I repeat what I said. Because kings, they influence our moral standard. They influence our civilization. They are the gateway of every evil that happens in the country. President Chiluba came with full force with the democracy, and Kaunda became a gateway by giving in to democracy, and but he warned Zambians, go back to the land. Go back to the land. That's when democracy brought people into towns to come and breed them to be thieves, to be robbers, to be prostitutes, and teaching them that life is ease. A gateway democracy of rights, of lesbianism. I want to say all these homosexuality that are taking place are sanctioned by democracy. Evil. Democracy uses lies, slandering, smearing against truth. Hakainde Chilema, I'm still speaking to you. I want to give you a history, just to remind, in case power, you are drunk with power to a point that you have forgotten, that I'm not just raising from nowhere, as people think that, no, someone also commented to say, these prophets, they just talk about Zambia. Zambia, you can't talk about another country. The prophets that talk about Zambia, they are photocopies of my prophecy that I started in 1990. Ask Siawan, when I was talking about the coming in of UPND in 1997, where was he? How old was he? Ask him. When I was talking about UPND in 1999 to Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, where was he? When I was talking about UPND to Anderson Mazoka, where was he? As I only understood it before Anderson Mazoka as the open palm government, where was he? When he comes now in 2021, he says, no, me, I saw that HH is going to win, because he analyzed the popularity of HH winning the election. Today, he's saying that HH is going to rule until 2090. I've challenged him to say, I'm watching. In my previous videos, I've mentioned to say, for HH, because there's a prophet that said HH must die, will die from kidney failure, 2026. I said HH won't die. If God can permit HH to die, unless they tell me that they have planned to assassinate him in 2026. But that assassination shall be postponed, as the assassination attempt to Michael Sat, which was postponed from 2012 to 2014. Why? I want to demonstrate to all those that are mocking, to all my enemies, to all that fought to diagnose me with schizophrenia. I know every step, every day, what happened from my arrest. I've not forgotten even some questions that I was interrogated when I was admitted, when I was taken first to Viscopies, which we call Chainama in Zambia. Here in South Africa, they call it Viscopies. They gave me a form to fill the details. I wrote my name. I wrote my phone number. I wrote the address of my house. I wrote the next of kings. I answered almost every question correctly on that sheet. I was taken for medical examination and so forth, urine and ABCD. Professor Nkama simply told the police officer to say, can you call your friend outside here? Why did you bring this person here? Take him back to the court. Let him stand the charges. The police officers, they were so disappointed. The car was moving slowly, debating whether they must take me back to court. They started communicating on WhatsApp, on SMSs, until those at court, they told him, sir, no, return him to Kosimapuro. We need to to maybe the other intelligence officers, those who were, in fact, the people behind my arrest, which I suspect that the government of Zambia and the United Nations were behind it. The UNHCR, Mr. Levi, there was a Leonard Zulu, who was the chief for the UNHCR. I want to say that I remember everything, critically everything, even the people that were persecuting me, I remember them. So you can't tell me that I'm suffering schizophrenia, because those suffering from schizophrenia, they don't know the time. They don't know the day. They cannot know where they are. They can't identify the place where they are. But I can take you door to door. Even the doctors that were used to frame allegation on my schizophrenia. When I reached in court, they said, he cannot speak, this one. He's sick. I'm sick. So that's how dangerous the world can be when they want to reject the truth. Hence, I challenge Hakainde Chilema to say, Hakainde Chilema, if you feel I can be behind this big gathering, as I was alleged or accused to be the one organized the assassination attempt on Michael Sat, I said, please, can you take me into solitary place? The food that you are going to provide is for my family and my children and so forth, until you see yourself that I'm not adding anything to aid the fulfillment of these revelations that I'm receiving. But I want to remind you bit by bit of where I began on this prophecy and how I talked to you when you called me. First, before I read, I might forget. The first day you called me, in August 2008, you greeted me. I answered. You asked, are you Evangelist Masuka? I said, yes. He said, oh, I'm Hakainde Chilema. I said, thank you. Then he says, I'm consulting because I heard you talking about Levi Patrick Manawasa. What is it that you know about him regarding his collapsing in Egypt? I just gave one answer. I said, President Manawasa is dead. You said, no. They are saying he's in Pace Hospital recovering. I said, no. President Lev Patrick Manawasa is dead. He says, you asked me to say, how do I know that he's dead? I said, in a vision, I saw President Manawasa hitting his chair 3 times. Manawasa has collapsed in State House once. The second time, he collapsed in Chipata, where there's a presidential state lodge. And this is the third incidence of his collapsing in Egypt. And when you came out, I saw him, he was actually in a meeting where they dragged him out. He had a big wound on the back. That wound is a symbol of death. I was explaining to you, Hakainde Chilema. After that explanation, I was called to Movie TV by Mtinta Chiseko. I stood outside. Before I entered for interview, they asked me to say, what is it that God is saying regarding what has happened to Patrick Manawasa? I said, he's dead. He says, no. So this interview, you want to tell the nation that Manawasa is dead? I said, yes, Manawasa is dead. She said, let me go and ask from my superiors. She went and asked and came back, says, they said, no, we cannot interview you because right now the state is actually preparing for an overnight prayer meeting because it is believed that he is sick. I said, no, he's dead. There's no one who is sick is dead. Where did you get the information? I said, me, I don't get information from the news. I get the information from God, the Creator. So I was retained. I thanked God. I returned. Thank God I was using my own transport. It was at night. I returned back home. So, after that incident, Joshua Banda, Bishop Joshua Banda, in the overnight prayer meeting, he said, I saw President Levi Manawasa coming live, very strong. He came alive. I laughed. I said, do they know the God I worship? By then, I was watching my TV, looking at the nation that is fasting and praying for someone who is already dead. I wish they had said that we want to pray for his resurrection. Then, what happened? Manawasa came as a dead man. In the fulfillment of what I saw and what was not given coverage anywhere, because truth is not accepted. They push truth under the carpet. If I was one of those saying, no, I'll stand here to pray for Patrick Manawasa because God showed me he can resurrect him. How can he resurrect him if there's no commitment to his agenda? Many times we are rejected, not because God has not spoken, but because the world doesn't want the truth. They hate the speaker of the truth. This book is the source of God's inspired visions and dreams. Chapter 16 of the Rescue Operation Airport Trap. I said, can you truly trust anyone nowadays? This was 2001. You may have heard some frustrated individual ask this question, or you may have asked the same question yourself when emotionally troubled over the turn of events in your life. Undeniably, there is a worldwide lack of confidence in a vision or revelation. Oftentimes, this lack of confidence is justified as people cling to satanic revelations, for they want to believe things they can see, as did King Saul, who believed in a revelation of Samuel the prophet who was dead and raised by a wizard at Edom. The foolish king failed to believe and utilize revelations by the prophet before his death. Now, out of desperation, the king went to ask the wizard to bring the prophet from the dead, that he may consult the prophet. It was an easy thing to bring the past revelation to the king, and the king talked to the spirit in resemblance to Samuel, the prophet. The truth is, the wizard cannot foretell the future as proved by the magician or astrologer or Chaldeans to the kings, to King Nebuchadnezzar when he demanded to know the future. So I'm simply saying false prophets cannot tell the future. They always imitate what has been already revealed. This wizard actually had to bring back, that is fiction, a prophet that has dead, and the prophet speaking, repeating what was already said. And today kings, they believe people who consult the dead. In this book, I actually said in another paragraph, I said the last stroke is a revelation yet future, and it stands to be proved by one thing, by one who have come to. It stands to be proved by anyone who have come in contact with this book. The revelation is about Pope's government in waiting, revealed unto me as supporting the Open Palm government. I met the Open Palm Pàrt leader on 28th November 2001 at his house after filing his nomination at the High Court. The purpose of this meeting was to review the last stroke of 2nd February 1990 vision, in which I saw the fall of the former President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, the rise and the fall of President F.T.D. Chiluba, and the rise of the Papas through John Paul Karo Watila. And upon revealing the vision of the December 1999 concerning the Open Palm that has Vatican support, he did not hesitate to admit that fact and said, yes, the Pope is behind me and my part. So when I say UPND is the Pope's vehicle to rule Zambia and Africa and the world, I'm not just speaking because out of hate. This is something that I said to Anderson Mazoka 2001, and I wrote in this book, and I have evidence to prove that. I said this vision of 2nd February 1990 is the last part of the rise of John Paul Karo Watila, is explained and interpreted in the vision of December 1999, in where I saw a lot of people walking to the polling station, and the other side were vehicles trying to cross the flooded river. It was a good struggle for the vehicles to reach the polling station, as others remained stuck in the mud as they failed to cross the river. Only one white open van managed to cross the river. In the vehicle that managed to cross the flooded river was a bald-headed man who was beckoning and pointing to his risen hand, portraying a symbol of an open palm, giving a signal to the people walking alongside the road to the polling station, telling those who would be voters to vote for the Open Palm government. This vision proved to me that the Open Palm government is going to State House at the end of MMD Chiluba's rule. Please, for the statement just read, the reader is advised to read the Election Aftermath Commentary, Chapter 18. This will be in partnership with the Church or the Papa's Global Movement. The collision of the Church with the state is a deadly one. Therefore, whosoever readeth, let him understand. So, I'm not hating Catholic. I love Catholic. When I came here as a refugee, I was actually received and helped by the Jesuit Refugee Center, which is a Catholic organization. Historically, they are the ones that started this organization that helps refugees. And most of the people that are working in those refugee centers, they are innocent. They don't know the actual purpose of this help. That does not change the situation from war. That does not improve a refugee life. That only manages to give a little help, a little help, a little help to register that there is love when love is not there. The worst of it is the SDA church. I have said some time that I'll talk about it. But one thing that I want to mention is that SDA church has been sending people to assassinate me and even to destabilize my family. First of all, when we were at UN, they've only let me say, the first time I saw a gentleman who came and visited, says, "Oh no, I'm an SDA." I said, "No, I've seen an SDA for the first time. I've been here over for a year. But for you, SDA, why is the church not helping the need?" I've never met Seventh Day in my suffering. What's happening? So thereafter, the Seventh Day came with the poisoned food. They gave us that food because we had just eaten. I told my children, "No, just put that food. We'll eat it tomorrow." But that food only stayed for a few minutes. It started producing foam. I called the neighbors that come and see. Is it the same foam that your food is producing? The other people's food, they were not producing that foam. Then Mr. Brother, is it a friend, Mr. Allen Bome, took that and threw it into the dustbin. You can ask him if you want to confirm. Then I wrote an email to UN to say the food that I was served was poisoned. Also, a friend visited me in 2020, leading me to go to UN. That prompted my arrest. That prompted the delegation for schizophrenia, Mr. Justin Blair, who was my neighbor in Zambia, came here pretending to be in need, but not in need, but just to distract my life, just to distract the purpose of this ministry, pretending to say, "Oh, no, I'll join you. Let me just finish up with my church. We'll be worshiping together." But he was up to something. I want to say that the operation of the Catholic Church and the operation of the SDA Church, they are not different. They defend their faith by blood. Anyone who differs with them, anyone who opposes them, he must go to the grave. And they do it systematically, and you may not believe it. That's why I say a church is more dangerous than a political party. Because you can see Julius Malema talking ill against Cyril Ramaphosa, but in the morning, let's say in the morning he talks, but in the evening, they are partying, they are talking. They know that politics is just a game. But religion, they don't do like that. It's a business. Those who are disappointed with these churches, I'm saying, don't stop worshiping. Don't think that God is not there. it is what it's supposed to be. If you hear people saying that there's no Jesus, there's no what, it's just what, no, 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 no. I'll give you who Jesus is, the one who is the source of my revelation and visions. That stands the time, the test of time, is the Jesus who is the creator. I said, in the vehicle that managed to cross the river, there was a bald-headed man. Then I said, this vision proved to me that the Open Palm government is going to State House at the end of MMD Chiluba Row, meaning that I was so certain that after MMD UPN do win, the 2001 rigging that gave in Manawasa, from Manawasa, Rupia Banda, from Rupia Banda, Michael Sata, from Michael Sata, it gave to Lungu. All these were explained to me as I actually mentioned it in the election aftermath commentary, where I explained. I went to the what? To the police to explain that they are planning to rig the elections. So now I want to say that there are many other things I wanted to quote, but I'll proceed with that. Let me close this this presentation for today by reading these two paragraphs. I said, one thing I must clarify is the 2nd February 1990 vision, I saw images, the names of the people involved in this great exodus to the time of the mark of the beast and the end of the world at the coming of Christ. But the 1999 vision, I saw only the symbol of the palm or the government in waiting that shall work hand in hand with the Pope to establish global religion. So this is what HH is doing, hand in hand with the Vatican City to establish global religion. It surely takes courage, faith, and confidence in God to declare to someone, to somebody, that he is the next president from the opposition. I'm very much aware of the other counter revelation made by Pastor Nevas Mumba of the ANC, that God has revealed to him that he shall be the next president. Somebody else has declared that God has shown him that General Mianda is the next president. Let us wait and see who is on the Lord's side. The one on the Lord's side shall be proved true. I end this quote. The next video, I'll start by reading this statement. May God bless you. Amen.